Welcome to Everything Carleton County, and I'm your host, Tanika, and I have the awesome privilege of having two special guests with me today. As you know, it's Black History Month, and we are going to be focusing on Black history right here in Carleton County. So without any further ado, welcome to the show.
Good.
Okay, if you can just introduce yourself a little bit for our viewers.
Okay, I'm Lawrence Farrell, and I live in Woodstock and was born here. And I'm a retired school teacher.
Yeah.
And let's say I've traveled considerably, and I've always been much interested in the history of this area, and particularly the history of the Black individuals in this area.
Great, thank you.
My name is Greg Campbell. I'm sort of the curator of the special collections at the LP Fisher Library. And through the course of research, I've come across a lot of information on the Black families and shared it with Lawrence to a large degree. And here to show Tanika what we have available in the special collections for Black History Month and for future research.
Yeah, thank you. There is quite a bit of information about Black history here in Carleton County. And I would love for you to share the story of how you discovered the AME Black Church.
Several years back, I took my wife to a supposed yard sale at this building on St. James Street. I went into the building and looked at what was for sale, and it just seemed very strange to me when I was there. There was sort of a feeling that came over me that there was something very special about this particular building. And I kept looking around, and I began to see things that I thought perhaps related to a church.
Wow.
So I asked one of the ladies who was working behind one of the counters, and I said, this building looks like it might have been a church. She said, oh, yes, it was. And so I then said, well, what denomination would that have been? Oh, I don't know, sir. She said, I'll have to go ask the lady who was looking after the money box.
Okay.
So anyway, she did. She came back and said it was a church for Black people.
Okay.
She whispered very carefully.
Right.
And I said, oh, Black people? I said, I didn't realize there ever had been a church for Black people in Woodstock.
Right.
Oh, yes, there was. So then what did I do? That piqued my curiosity.
Yes.
I came here to the library, probably bothered Greg. What information is there on a Black church in Woodstock?
Right.
So you did find me some material on the Black church, and it was called the African Methodist Episcopal Church.
Yes.
So that bit of information piqued my interest further. Greg directed me to the Carleton County Historical Society.
Yes.
I went there, found more information, and then over the course of the years, Greg has provided me with mountains of information. And then, of course, I did some research on my own and went about the community talking to individuals who were in their 80s and 90s. And they began to tell me many stories about the Black church. So that's how it began.
Wow. So it's almost like you were divinely drawn to do this.
Yeah, I really do feel that.
Yeah.
If Lawrence hadn't compiled this information and started writing it in another 30, 40 years, nobody would have a clue about it at all. Everybody would be gone.
Yes. Now, I've noticed that it's considered a heritage building and they have a plaque there. When did those plaques start to go out throughout?
Well, that's part of the Woodstock walking tour. And that's been going on, different sites at it every few years.
Right.
I've been involved in some of the write-ups for them.
Right. Now, did that plaque come about for this a previous Black church because of the information, Lawrence?
Yeah, that's right. And actually, Lawrence did the write-up for the
plaque. All right.
Yeah.
Around what years, Lawrence, was this church around? How long did it last? And
Well, actually, prior to 1893, I think it was when the church was built. But before that, there had been a black church in 1874. And the information that I have before me simply says that prior to the construction of the AME Church on St. James Street, the earliest mention of an organized church for colored people was found to be of the Baptist denomination. And I found from the History of the Baptists, which is a book, noted on page 620 that in 1874, the Western Association met at Jacksonville, Carleton County, on June the 23rd. The moderator was Reverend W.B. Boggs, and 3 new churches were added: New Salem, the Woodstock Colored Church, and Upper Queensbury Church. And then from the Carleton Sentinel, January 22nd, 1881, mention is made of the African Colored Church. We finished the hall. We will have services at 3 o'clock Sunday. These are the officers of this church. Nathaniel McIntyre is deacon. Henry Du Bois is recording secretary. And James Du Bois is deacon. And also from that, we found that the minister preaching was Reverend Manuel Nails, Nails.
Okay.
And it reads, service in the African Colored Church, Sunday afternoon at 3. And then it goes on to say what occurred at that particular service. Yeah. I did quite a bit of research on it, and to relate it to you without referring to notes would be totally impossible because of the dates.
Right.
Can I refer to my notes?
Yes, please.
Okay, I'll just read what I have because it's probably more succinct than what I could relate.
For sure.
The African Methodist Episcopal denomination, established in 1816. The church was born in protest over slavery and against the dehumanization of African people. It was the offspring of the Methodist Church founded by John Wesley in 1739, an Anglican who started a move within the Church of England to improve the spiritual life of the church. In December of 1784 in Baltimore, Maryland, a general conference of the Methodist Church was held. At it was Richard Allen, a founder of the African Methodist Episcopal Church. Allen, ordained by Asbury Seminary. By the way, my son went to Asbury.
Look at that.
And he was an observer only at this conference.
Yes.
In addition to Allen, 3 other men played significant roles in establishing the AME Church. These 3 were Daniel Payne, William Quinn, and Henry Turner. In 1787, at St. George's Methodist Episcopal Church in Philadelphia in Pennsylvania, colored members were segregated from the white members. Blacks were supposed to sit in the gallery of the church. One Sunday, the Africans knelt to pray outside the segregated area, and they were actually pulled from their knees and told to go to the place which had been designated for them. This insult resulted in the formation of the Free African Society, from which came 2 groups, the Episcopalians and the Methodists. The leader of the Methodists was Richard Allen. Allen learned that other groups were suffering under the same conditions. Consequently, on April the 9th through the 11th in 1816, 5 churches came together in Philadelphia and formed the African Methodist Episcopal Church.
So beyond this church that we spoke of, what other discoveries have you found regarding Black history here in Carleton County?
Well, there was a Black school in Woodstock.
Really?
In 1871, I believe, New Brunswick came out with a common school act, something where everybody had the right to an equal education. But it really wasn't true. So there was a Black school in Woodstock run by a Mrs. Niles.
Wow. How many students, may I ask?
I think Lawrence did a write-up on that, so he has a list.
I do have a list if you let me go get it.
Yes, okay.
And
Wow.
another interesting thing,
So, yeah.
and where I traced it, Mrs. Niles, the teacher, she lived at the corner of Grover and St. Andrew Street, the big house that was recently burned.
Oh,
That house wasn't built till 1898, but that was the site of her house, according to an 1876 map.
Right.
And that was the area where a lot of the Black families live. There's a street over from the AME church, for instance.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that that's where she had her school.
Okay. Okay.
So doing research regarding the schools in Woodstock, it brought me to the point where I wondered, Black students weren't, I'm not going to say weren't welcome, but they weren't attending the schools that the white children attended. So because I was an educator for a long number of years, this really piqued my interest. And what I found out was schools just really did not exist. School buildings did not exist for Black students. And as Greg has mentioned, Mrs. Niles, I believe, was one individual who taught these students in her home. And what I learned was that she was given about $40 from the provincial coffers for the year to educate these students, and found out that she had 22 students. I try to picture in my mind 22 students in a living room or living room, dining room combined. And it was founded in 1869 and 1870. There was an inspector, his name was Fries, visited Miss Niles' school on the 11th of October, and he found that all children there were being taught to read, to write, and he particularly was impressed with their musical abilities. And she didn't have, the day at which he visited, she didn't have all 22 students there. There were only 16.
Right.
But many times they were absent because of obligations at home.
Okay.
And the inspector said, and I'll read what he said. He said, the children were learning spelling, reading, writing, arithmetic, needlework, vocal music was taught, and the inspector says they all sing quite well. Inspector Fries concluded his observations with the following remarks. This school is comprised wholly of colored children. Miss Niles deserves well of the public and the government for the pains and the patience she takes to cultivate the Blacks of this locality. She is much interested in her work. He goes on to say, I find that $30, and I had quoted 40 earlier, but $30 have been subscribed locally for the support of the school last summer, but by whom, I don't know. At any rate, some of it is reported as paid, and I presume the race is too poor or too ignorant to help themselves in the matter of education. And yet it seems, or it is important, these children should receive some training. And Miss Niles, though but a poor scholar, seems willing and anxious to do the best she can for them. It might be prudent investment to increase her little grant from $40 to $70, which latter sum, with a like sum received through this department as a third-class teacher, would place Miss Niles on a footing of equality as regards remuneration with other teachers of the same classification. This footing may be thought superior to that of other third-class teachers, because Miss Niles' pay, being thus all public money, would be surer than the pay of the general run of teachers. But when the complexion of the charge is considered, this little apparent superiority will disappear. I recommend the said rate of $70, and this was J.M. Barrett, the 8th of February, 1870.
Wow. Black History Month asks us to remember the truth and to ask what we're going to do with it. Here in Carleton County, the stories of discrimination and racism are not ancient history. They live in people's memories and in their lives. For Tanika Chambers, that reality became personal not long after she moved to Carleton County. She experienced discrimination, an experience that could have left her feeling powerless. Instead of staying a victim, Tanika chose to become part of the solution, so she founded GAMP. Having a young daughter herself, Tanika would never want her to experience what she did or any other parent, and created a program with a simple, powerful message: stamp out racism in the future by cultivating cross-cultural relationships today. The program is called Exhale. Exhale focuses on building cultural appreciation, self-esteem, and cross-cultural friendships while helping prevent racism before it takes root. Phase 1 began by centering Black girls, creating a space to heal, belong, and grow with others who share their lived experience. And in a moment that feels bigger than coincidence, the program launched and operated in the very building, the first former African Methodist Episcopal Church in Woodstock. Then Phase 2 moved into what always was the goal: integration, bringing girls of all nationalities together to build real friendships at a young age. The joy and transformation these girls experience is incredible, and to keep Exhale running and open the doors for more girls, GAMP needs community support. There's no public funding, and parents donate $5 per week. If you believe in a future where our children grow up connected, not divided, please consider supporting Exhale. Visit GAMP.org to give a donation. Thank you for your time and patience. Let's get back into the conversation. Was there anything that surprised you the most in your research?
I think the fact that there was a KKK presence in Woodstock and some of the surrounding communities in the mid-1920s, that kind of surprised me. It was often the upper crust locals who were head of the Klansmen.
Oh, wow.
Years ago, this older gentleman who's long dead now, Urban Hughes, told me a story when he was a youngster.
And just for those who are watching who may not understand what KKK, who they are, could you explain a little?
KKK is a Ku Klux Klan.
Yes. And they were,
I guess, anti-Black, anti-Jewish, just about anything except white bread.
Okay.
So anyway, this older gentleman, Urban Hughes, related a story to me when he was a kid living on Queen Street. And in the Capitol Square building, as it's called now, upstairs, he said on Saturdays, he would go up there and light candles for the Jewish people that were having their ceremonies because they weren't allowed to work on Saturdays. And then the following day, the KKK would have ceremonies up there. And he remembers as a kid, Klansmen walking across a bridge over to Grafton and lighting a cross in the hills, Grafton Hills. And the next day, he and his little school chums went over and saw the remnants of it. And I think some of the surrounding areas, I've seen pictures of the KKK in Meductic and in the bridge in Benton. Luckily, it was short-lived, although 20 years ago or so, a gentleman on Grover Street found some KKK robes in his attic.
Oh, wow.
And he promptly disposed of them.
Okay. Wow. That is a discovery for sure.
And then those of us, perhaps, and I did not grow up in this community, but those of us who were aware of the KKK were certainly quite concerned because of the fact that they did not necessarily respect my views or my family's views. So consequently, they became a negative in my life. But as I did research, and I have a friend from Ontario, also a friend to Greg, who is a writer, And this lady has done extensive research on the KKK,
Okay.
which she has sent to me. And when she was visiting in, I believe, I'm going to say North Carolina, but it might have been South Carolina, the librarian there that with whom she had been speaking, they became quite involved in conversation regarding how blacks were treated by the KKK in that area. So this lady sent me this information, and it just simply reinforced my belief that, and my understanding of what was going on or what went on years ago with that.
Right. How do you feel as Caucasian men hearing these stories? Just I want to hear your thoughts,
Well, I was kind of grew up with like colorblind. Growing up in Moncton at the time, there was very few black people, very few Asian people. So I just didn't make any difference to me.
Okay.
And now my brother's married to a Jamaican lady.
Oh.
My wife is biracial. Obviously, my son as well. So it's just not something I ever think of color one way or the other.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Greg.
I grew up in a community that is very, very tiny in the United States and Canada. It's a little village called Fosterville.
Okay.
And there, in that community, everyone was Protestant and white.
Yes.
We had one Roman Catholic family, and which was really, I never gave it any thought.
Okay.
And so I went to university. I started at Teachers College in Fredericton. So when I got to St. John to teach, my first class was a grade 7 group with 38 students.
38 students.
38 students.
Oh my gosh.
I was 19 years old, and I took my students into my classroom, and I had my first true encounter with a black student.
Yes.
And it was a very positive experience. I learned a lot about her, and I will share this with you.
Okay.
I said to her one day, I was teaching geography, social studies, and we were studying the various races. And we had the black race, we had the white race, we had the yellow race, we had the red race. I mean, this was in the textbook.
Okay.
So they were giving the physical characteristics of each of these races. And when we came to the black race, the young girl, Marita, she said, that's not so, Mr. Farrell. That is not so.
Mm.
So I thought, dare you dispute a textbook?
Ah.
And she says, my brother is in the grade 7 classroom across from me. She says, he has blonde hair,
Wow.
blue eyes, and his complexion is lighter than mine.
Mm.
Well, that was the best lesson I had learned.
Mm.
So that was one of my first experiences with black people.
Okay.
And then, of course, as you lived in St. John, you began to meet more and more, and they became like Greg said, you became colorblind.
Mm.
They're no longer, they're just Ed or Jan or Melinda, whoever it happens to be.
Right.
So that was my experience.
Okay. Thank you. If someone thinks this isn't our history, what would you say to them?
I would say Black history is 100% part of the Woodstock history. I didn't grow up here, but from all the research I've done, I can definitely see that it's all contributed to Woodstock's past and present and future.
Okay.
Yeah, and I agree with Greg. And in Woodstock, I didn't think that there was overt segregation.
Right.
But then when I have talked with some of the individuals who have gone to school, who have worked, it is very obvious, even today,
Right.
that there tends to be this bit of segregation.
Right. Yeah.
Although they're accepted, they appear to be accepted, but it's just little things that come to mind that maybe.
According to Racism Statistics in Canada by Olivia Bush, updated January 26, a 2023-24 Canadian survey found that approximately 54% of Black people in Canada aged 15 years and older had experienced some form of discrimination in the 5 years prior to the survey. About 41% had experienced discrimination based on their skin color or race. This is around 15 times higher than among the non-visible, non-Indigenous minority population, where 3% reported discrimination based on their race or skin color. Approximately 27% of Black people reported that they had been discriminated against because of their ethnicity or culture, and 70% of Black respondents who had experienced discrimination said it had happened more than once. Canadian-born Black people were more likely to experience discrimination than Black immigrants, at 65% and 36% respectively. Black women are more likely to experience discrimination than Black men, with 49% compared to 42%. Around 16% of Black people had experienced discrimination in their dealings with the police. Younger Black people were more likely to experience discrimination. About 53% of Black people aged 15 to 44 said they had experienced discrimination, compared to 31% of those aged 45 and older.
Well, my last question for both of you is, how can the residents in Carleton County contribute to the collection or that you have going for the Black community from the history? Like pictures or stories, anything like that you can tell the people how they can contribute to this maybe?
Well, the library is always an option. I will be retiring in 2 months. Any suggestions, Lawrence?
Or if people like, they can send it to me and I could do some more writing.
There you go. So what would be your contact, your best contact?
Probably through the library would be the best way.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you both for being on today. If you can just...
Thank you, Tanika.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Tanika. Takinka.
Tanika. Ika. Teachers called me Tanika for a long time. I didn't like that. Everyone, I hope you found this very educational, and definitely share this video. Let others know about the Black history here in Carleton County. Thanks for watching Everything Carleton County.
Black history is Carleton County history. These are some pictures that were found of those who lived here in the past. Thank you, Greg, for sharing these with me. Thank you for your research that was done. And thank you, Lawrence, as well, for feeling that tug and learning more. History, Black history, is something we can all research and learn more about. So I hope you were empowered. I hope you were inspired, as I was. So please share, support GAMP and Exhale Girls Club, and let's together make Carleton County a place where all are welcome and feel welcome.